Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever felt happy? Have you ever played chess and felt happy? Sometimes you play a chess game or you watch a chess game and you just feel a certain way. And that is how you are going to feel when today's video is over. This was a very fun game with an absolutely fascinating, historic setup on the board that I don't think I've ever seen. And I'm going to share it with all of you. I saw this game played on the Chess Beginner subreddit, and I thought, why not bring it to the masses? And before I show you this game, I'd like to thank the sponsor of today's video, Incogni. What if I told you that your personal information could be out there right now, floating around on the web? Well, in 2023, it's an unfortunate reality. As the world grows more digital, more things are happening as we sign up for accounts on different websites. First of all, websites experience data breaches, and your information gets leaked. This is happening more and more every single year. But also, there's literal data brokers buying information that's available to them online. The smallest inconvenience of this is you receiving some sort of targeted advertising. But the consequences of having your information out there are much more severe. The worst case of which could be something like identity theft. But that is where Incogni can help. Incogni will fight on your behalf to scrub your information from off the internet and protect you at all costs. And it works in just 3 simple steps. First, you just go to Incogni and you sign up to make an account. Then you approve them the right to fight to remove your personal information online. And last but not least, you sit back, relax, and watch them take on data brokers and any other website where your personal information is stored without you wanting it. I think in the modern digital age, something like Incogni is a really fantastic service. And folks, you know the drill already. If you're interested in trying out Incogni, click the link in the description, and the first 100 of you to do that and use the code GOTHAM will get 60% off an Incogni subscription. Now that you're done fighting the good fight and protecting your personal information online, let's get back to the video. Thanks, sponsored Gotham. Folks, this chess game features 2 individuals right around the advanced beginner level, right around the early intermediate level, who played a daily game against each other. Seemingly friends, they've played each other multiple times. Their names are John and Baffo. One of their names is definitely stranger than the other, but I don't think that is their legal name, unless it is, in which case, sorry for making fun of it. Baffo, we are going to witness the game from Baffo's perspective with the black pieces, and this was a daily game. The game began with the move e4, and black played the move e5. Bishop c4 on the board, the bishop's opening. Potentially the bishop's opening, potentially a transposition back to more normal stuff like knight f3, or white is just going to go for 4-move checkmate. Now, as always in my videos, we're gonna laugh. It's not really a how to lose at chess video, like not a lot of dumb things happen. More so, we're gonna learn a few things, we're gonna laugh, and we're gonna see something historic, all right? So sit back and relax. Knight f6. So now there is no queen h5. Now here white plays a move that it's not a losing move, but it's not a good move. White plays the move f3. I'm just gonna say this right now. You really rarely, if ever, want to play the move pawn to f3 in the first, 5 moves of the game. It happens in very specific openings, frequently when you're putting a bishop there. In this case, you're just getting in the way of your own knight. You're also weakening your king, the dark squares to your king. This is just not a very good move. Now, the best way to play against this move is for black to actually strike at the center right away, because white has not built any equity here. So even the move d5 here is very good for black, and white just can't develop because they got in their own way. Now, black plays knight c6, white plays c3, so clearly John has already something prepared, and white actually plays relatively normal moves, right? And now he's ready to go d4. Now again, at any given moment, the best thing for black to do is to put 2 pawns in the center if possible. But bishop c5, knight e2, white wants to play the move d4. Now black plays d6, and white actually did everything right. White played c3, white played knight e2, and if white plays d4 in this position, white's not even worse. In fact, like I said, if you play pawn f3 and get a bishop here and then a knight out, your position's good. The computer doesn't like this move because of pawn to d5, but the computer gonna go eat a franc. So instead of all that, instead of playing knight e2, c3, and very clearly preparing the move d4, keep in mind this is a daily game. They have 72 hours to make a move. Clearly John got distracted and he plays f4 and now he's just dead lost. I mean, maybe, listen, maybe John played the move f4 during a period of vicious diarrhea. Like, I don't know, you know, maybe he was 71 and a half hours into the 72 hours and was like, oh my God, I have to make a move. And then he sat down on the toilet, he had explosive diarrhea, and he didn't remember this, so he played this. That move is just losing. It's losing because it hangs a pawn. Not only does it hang a pawn, it hangs a pawn and very vicious king safety. Like, you played f3 already, so you're just moments away from losing now. So after his bout with violent diarrhea, John bounces back and plays the move d4, and he is still lost, but he is not as lost as he would be had he allowed the knight to go to f2. Now, what black should do here is open up the position as fast as possible, because he has a very strong attack. So right now, this pawn trade thoroughly benefits black, to the extent that he even has tactics like this, which is very hard to see. What this does is remove the knight from the defense of the g3 square, and now queen h4 is vicious. And you can even do this, and then you can take on h1, and, you know, you can take the queen, and then you can take the knight, and you're completely winning. In fact, if the king goes to e2, you also have this. So the point of knight takes d4 is deflecting the knight from the defense of g3 so that queen h4 is possible. Otherwise, the knight would have been defending that. But bishop b6. Now white plays rook f1, which is kind of a deranged move. Like, why would you not castle and run the king to the corner? Okay, rook f1. Whatever, who am I to judge? Now d5, now castles. And here white plays the move d5, attacking the knight. Now, queen h4 check for black is just like winning on the spot. Queen h4, g3, and then black even has mate in 2 here. Bishop f2, and queen f2. Black also can sack the queen for absolutely no reason, and then mate in 3 with bishop h3, which would be very pretty. But he does this. Bishop d3, and again, knight f2, queen h4, like black is completely winning. Black is a pawn up. White's king is very weak. And if you're sitting there wondering, where's this historic moment that happens in this game? It doesn't happen in the first 10 moves. It doesn't. You gotta have a little patience. All right? So yeah, have some patience, bozo. Bishop f5. And now this trade. Now, that is not a good trade. Now, how do you evaluate that? Like, how do you evaluate what's a good trade and what isn't? Well, you gotta get better at your middle games. Gotta watch some of my middle games concept videos. Or get them, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, this is not a good trade because this is white's really only active piece and you are now trading it. I would have much preferred, something like knight d2 and maybe trying to trade like this. Even then, black is doing very well. This trade is just not good because white can't develop any pieces. Now, white's next move is pawn to b4. That move makes sense, but black just keeps moving forward. So now it's -6. Even though black is only up 1 point of material, this position is -6. How? How is that possible? How are you down 6 points of material? Well, you have very bad development. You have holes in your position. Your king is very weak. And because your king is very weak, black at any given moment can start winning more material, like this pawn, or that pawn, or that pawn, or your king. So, knight a3. Now, this trade is completely fine for black, and now black can take a pawn and actually trap the rook. The rook cannot go anywhere. So bishop takes g2, wins a pawn, and traps the rook. Black can also play queen h4 check. Black can also play pawn takes f4 and open up this. Black does, in fact, play the move queen h4, and he does take on h2, and this is a very, very bad situation for white, who is now down 2 pawns, and not only is down 2 pawns, is just thoroughly under attack. The king is under severe pressure. At some point, pawn takes f4 and opening up the rook on the e-file is going to be vicious, and it's just very bad news. Bishop e3 will cut the circulation even further. Queen d2 played. A well-timed move. Now bishop e3 is not possible. Again, if I'm playing black here, I'm opening up the position. I'm putting a rook on the e-file. If I'm playing black here, which I'm not, because I would win. Also because I have no friends who want to play me in chess, or friends, period. If I'm playing black here, I'm either taking the pawn or trying to trap the rook. Black plays this, which is definitely a legal move. It's not a bad move. And then he does this. So now black is up 3 pawns, and he might target that one. He's got eyes on this. He could open that up. The bishop can come in when that square is defended and pin the king to the queen. Now, the way you fight back here, by the way, if you're sitting there wondering, what about queen takes d5? This. So maybe he got lucky, or maybe he's a genius. In any case, queen takes d5, queen takes knight, and he's in good shape. So black is completely winning. Now, the way you fight back here with white I don't really know, to be honest. In a time game, you try to play fast, but this is a daily game. There is no playing fast when each side has 72 hours to make a move. White could try to create an attack over here on the king side. White could try to bring the bishop back and try to attack. That's really the only way. Knight g1. I would just trade queens here and then like trade bishop for knight, and that's one of the ways to win. Another way to win is queen g3 and try to do this. But if you play queen g3, you might accidentally, hang your bishop. Now, that actually happens. Black goes here and is now up 4 pawns. That's a lot of pawns, and that threatens this. This is a good move. I don't know if white saw it. I don't think white saw it. It's not the best move because then black will be up 5 pawns, and then black is still going to win a bishop. So black is going to be up 5 pawns. It's crazy, but it's true. Instead of that, white plays king b1, which avoids this, at least winning the queen, but after bishop e3, you're still going to be down a pawn. So look, check, king to the corner, bishop e3, queen e2, and now black can just do this and be up 6 pawns. Not just 6 pawns, 7 pawns potentially, and maybe 8, just winning all the pawns. Not 6 pawns. Black can be up 5 pawns, then win this one, be up 6 pawns. D5, knight f3, and bishop takes f4. Black has 8 pawns and white has 3. I mean, this is a mismatch of epic proportions. Bafo is doing an excellent job. And then, I don't like that. Like, if I'm being honest, just trade the queens. Trade the queens, trade the bishops, win this position. Just go to the endgame. Don't hang a rook, put the rooks behind the pawns, and just push the pawns. The game becomes much easier to win when your opponent has no pieces on the board. All right? But okay, queen back to g6. You know why I don't like this move? Because rook g1. And you never know. You never know. You never know when by accident you're going to like hang a mate or something. All right? I don't know. It's very difficult to do that, but you might do it. Anyway, white plays bishop c1. I would chop the bishop. I would chop the knight. I wouldn't even hesitate. Okay, he chops the bishop. He doesn't chop the knight. Just take the knight. There's no... Because look, if you let the knight survive, now all of a sudden the knight is attacking the queen, right? Now the queen goes to e6. All right, great. White is, I would play rook g1, rook f1. That's what I would do. Queen e2. Look, the longer you wait, the higher chance something stupid happens. You could have traded the bishop for the knight. Instead, you hung the bishop. So, a long time ago, John got trapped in the toilet with violent diarrhea. Yeah, I think his opponent didn't have diarrhea. I think his opponent just forgot that when he pushed this pawn, he probably calculated take, and I'm defended, but he didn't calculate just this. Now he's almost lost. And I say almost lost because on the very next move, he is in fact lost. Like, folks, you have to understand, it's very nice that Stockfish says that it's -6, but you are not Stockfish. You need to be able to understand where the advantages lie in the position. That is just the reality, all right? Where is the advantage? It's the pawns, and it's the safety of the king. And that is why back here, don't overcomplicate things. There is absolutely nothing wrong with this. And then you just avalanche the pawns. You cannot lose that position. Whereas, when your bishop is on the board, you have a chance of losing it. And now, white goes back, but white should have went to f5 and just hunted your king. And if you go g6, knight h6, it's bad to worse. Like, the evaluation just swells. And the problem for black earlier in the game was that black was better, but there was a lot of pieces on the board. Whereas if you allow this, there ain't no pieces on the board, man. You're just getting mated. Like, your king is going to get pulled out of the castle, beaten to a pulp, and left on the side of the road, all right? So, but okay, knight f3 back. Now, however, black decides to win a different type of game. Black in this position tries to win connect 4, f6. And now we are nearing the historic moment of this game. In this position, white played the move rook h1, setting up very nasty intentions to black's king. Fantastic move, by the way. Black played the move h6. Now, what white should have done here is played knight h4, brought the rooks over here, and just butchered black. Instead, they played queen g4, which is not a bad move. The computer doesn't like it because it thinks you can queen trade, but black plays a5, and black is really just trying to lose the game. I mean, there is a cannon being pointed straight at the black king. Knight h4, knight f5 looking very juicy. White here starts like shuffling back and forth, and black finally breaks into the position with pawn takes b4. And as you can see, by the way, that rook is also staring at something, and it's about to get real nasty. White plays rook h6. So What John did with white is he got tunnel vision. He tried this a few times. He tried to set up rook takes h6 on multiple occasions. And then he like kind of got it. He could have done it earlier, but by the time he got it, oh. Yes. Yes. The pawn chain, baby. G7, F6, E5, D4, C3. Look at this gorgeous pawn chain. And the rook and the queen. And now it's actually black who is threatening the mate. Rook B1. Now, of course, a mistake here for black would be to break the pawn chain, but he does it. He plays C2 with the intention of playing rook takes B6, C1 queen, which would have been very fancy. Now, he could move the rook. For some reason, though, John doesn't realize that and just loses the rook. I don't know why he did that. He could have just moved it. There was no bait. I think he had tunnel vision on queen B2. And now, queen, and unfortunately, the pawn chain has been slain. However, in the final act of this incredible battle between Baffo and John, or John and Baffo, queen a5 was played, rook h2 back, and white realized that he's not gonna mate black even if he gets in, because the king can always escape. You just need more pieces than this. That's why the knight had to go to f5, pawn to c5. Queen h5 comes in, black runs, but he doesn't even have to. Check, king f7, check, king e6, and the king hides among the pawns. The pawns cover the king. Now, if white's knight could get to c4, it would be good. Knight d2, knight c4, but white plays queen f3, pawn to b5, pawn to a3, pawn to c4, rook a2 defending the king, rook ea7, completely unnecessary, but he plays it. Now pawn to b4. And white is unable to use this because then he would get absolutely brutalized on the a file. So pawn to a4. And folks, I think if you've watched this video long enough, you know where we are headed. In this game, we got a historic pawn chain. I have never seen this in my life. I've seen 5. I ain't never seen 6. Pawn to b3. A few moves later, pawn to b2. And on the 50th move of this game, in this position, white played the move, pawn to c3. Now, the incredible thing about this position is that that's a fork. What, in this position, seeing that the fork was coming, black had the option to move the queen and sacrifice the pawn and not get the pawn chain, but instead, black played c3 and sacrificed his queen with the intention of getting the pawn chain. Look at this, and he's not even worse. He's not even worse. That's the craziest part about this position. In this position, after something like rook a1 check, it is actually white who is lost because a rook cannot stop this many pawns. It's just not possible. So it's absolutely ridiculous. c3, knight c4, despite be about to lose a queen, you are still winning this game. Apparently, instead of king c5, you have to go here, but my point stands, which is so insane. The legendary 6-pawn chain all the way down, they all defend each other, and they make it very difficult for white to move any pieces, because at any given moment, you might force the king out. And even on top of that, white doesn't play the move knight c4. Oh, poor John. I think John played like half this game while having like big poopies in his like office or something, his corporate office. Black plays queen d5, and yeah, now the situation, unfortunately, will in fact resolve in the favor of black, who really does his best here not to move any of the pawns. He gets to this position. This is just beautiful stuff. Can we just let's take a moment and admire it? And the pawn chain does in fact break a little bit later. Queen a1, king c2, and black plays the move pawn to d3. Deflecting the king from the back rank. If king c3, there is b1 queen. If king d3, there is b1 queen. Pawn to d3, and white resigned this game, seeing as though he was about to allow about 5 different queens to promote. What an absolutely aesthetic position. The fact that you can get a pawn chain of 6 pawns and knight to c4 check would have won the queen, and even with that, it is still winning because the pawns all bind together. For example, there is counterplay that you can create, but by the time you do it, I'm promoting. And when the dust settles, I'm up 4 pawns. I'm not counting this. I'm up 4 pawns. So very, very nice game. White in this game played a very strange opening and didn't take the center when necessary. You need to put 2 pawns in the center quickly if you can. If you can. You really should. White got a very weak king position, found themselves in a situation down 2 pawns, 3 pawns even, and just under severe pressure, 4 pawns even. Didn't simplify quickly enough, lost the bishop, and for a few moves was losing. White should have went forward, to counteract this. White should have went forward, but White went backwards, gave Black time to consolidate, and then Black managed to create an absolutely sensational pawn chain. 6 pawns in a row. Incredible stuff. That's all I have for you today. I'll see you in the next video. Get out of here.